Well, I started out going to National Party conventions in 1980, and so this is number 18 for me, in a sense. When you think about it, this becomes the first ticket in American history not to have a Protestant on it. I'm surprised how little it matters, I have to say. In one sense, they know that Romney is a Mormon and Ryan is a Catholic, but it doesn't add up to, oh my God, not a Protestant. We're past that. I'm old enough to remember the Kennedy campaign and the question of whether you can have a Catholic president. And to me, what's amazing about that is that in one election you laid that issue to rest and you've never heard it again. There's nobody out there who's going to say, oh, geez, I wanted to vote for Mitt Romney, but Paul Ryan's a Catholic. You're not going to hear that anywhere. The issue's gone. I mean, which is amazing because for a long time this was the Protestant nation. In a different sense, what you have now is that the denominations have almost merged and the cut is on religiosity instead. Those who are serious about it go one way and those who are not interested go another way. When highly observant Protestants meet highly observant Catholics, in the old days, those would have been the two people who could not get along. And quite the other way around now. Highly observant people are comfortable with each other. And it's the highly observant that tells you who they are, not the Catholic and Protestant. For a long time now, quite some time, the sort of religiosity has told you a lot about partisanship, which is to say deeply religious people are Republican, non-religious people are Democratic. And so you start with that, and then you say, well, you know, it gets even stiffer because among those deeply religious Republicans, evangelical Protestants are overrepresented. And so you'll hear a lot more religious imagery and religious themes among Republicans, partly because they want to reach out to each other, but also because there's a natural way of talking. And, you know, that's conscious and strategic, but it flows out of a sort of natural division. And if religion is important to you and I want your support, why would I not talk about it? Imagine an American presidential candidate who said to you, I don't think religion belongs in politics and I'm not going to talk about it. If you think it belongs in politics, vote for the other guy. Well, we call that a landslide, and it's not in your direction. I think the first serious Mormon nominee for president has real sort of strategic choices to make there. He's deeply religious. Faith and family are central to him. We can go with him. If evangelicals in particular can't be comfortable with a Mormon nominee, he's not going to be president of the United States. And so full stop, that's it. But for him, he doesn't want to be ashamed. He wants to be proud. He's active, very active in his church. I mean, he's serious. And on the other hand, I mean, he doesn't want to spend his campaign making it a campaign for Mormonism. That's not what he is. He's the candidate of the Republican Party for the presidency of the United States. It's got to be a difficult line to walk there. So if you discover that Mormonism is not a handicap, then, you know, are there other religious groups waiting behind the door that sort of follow in the train? I think one could find examples where the answer is no, you can't follow with that. But surely there are a lot of others where you actually will sort of knock down any implicit barriers at the same time. I mean, we haven't had a Jewish president, but I actually think that there's nothing in that anymore. That's already been knocked down in the same way that you don't that no one's stunned by the fact that this is a uniformly non-Protestant ticket. Nobody thinks about that. You got lots of Jewish governors, you got lots of Jewish senators, and when you watch their campaigns, they're not losing people because they're Jewish. I wanted to vote Democratic, but you're Jewish, so I have to vote Republican. That's just not out there. And so I think, we haven't had the test, but I think that test will be passed easily. The dominant theme of jobs and growth is sort of eating everything. This time I'm betting that we all know what this one is about, and that the incumbents have to say, look, we did better than you might have expected, not as well as we would have liked, but you have to be honest and say we did better than you could have asked, really, if you're really realistic. And so don't say it should have been 4% unemployment. There is no one on earth who could have given you 4% unemployment. We stopped the bleeding. Vote for us. And, you know, my wager is that you're more likely to hear that than you are a lot of social issues. But, you know, there are a lot of Democrats who at the moment are really quite disturbed by a number of these issues, who have gay rights issues, who have marriage issues, who have abortion issues. And, you know, we'll watch and see. If they're not going for social issues, maybe their religious background isn't playing big this time out. Maybe you can say, well, Catholics have a tension between social justice and human life. But maybe those things aren't playing this time. Maybe what's playing is this: you're now going into year 5 of recession, and what are we going to do? And actually you say, I'm pro-life. I'm still pro-life. I'll still be pro-life next time. But, you know, this one is about what are we going to do in year 6? And I like to hear you talk about it. I like to hear what the candidates have to say about it. And if they offend me on these other matters, then I'm not going with them. But if you're just not talking about it, and you're talking about what you're going to do in year 6, maybe this is a year when religious background will cut less. But Catholics and mainstream Protestants have in many ways converged, and it's not, that religious divide isn't worth much in any year. I mean, it's sort of, never mind this year. But the evangelicals off to the right, and the non-Christians, most of whom are non-believers, but certainly not all, off to the left, that split's gotten bigger. The background doesn't go away. The background will be back next time. You're not going to cease being evangelical because you voted Democratic this time. On the other hand, you know, issues of the day can override all of this, just not all the time and just not continually.